So spirit guides. People, when you're on just a journey, or you're just not even, you don't have to be on a journey. Just you're just living your life, and you are just wondering about your spirit guides and how to connect with them. Um, it's understandable that if you don't know, that you would think, hey, maybe they aren't around, or maybe I'm just not hearing them. But really, if you don't know, then you kind of think that they aren't around. Your spirit guides are always around with you. The level of interaction that they have with you is dependent on where you are in your spiritual journey, what contract you have with them before you came. It just depends on a number of things. But I was called to talk about spirit guides because I had a psychic reading with a beautiful young lady yesterday. She is on a spiritual journey, and she's on the spiritual journey, the part where, like, there's different parts of a spiritual journey. It's not linear, but there's different parts of it. So her part that she's on is the self. She's learning herself. So she was actually at the beginning of her spiritual journey. But the whole part was to learn herself. So she came because, she's feeling like in solitude, she's feeling alone. And that's part of the spiritual journey. You are alone because you're learning different parts of yourself. And so I saw her. So I have visions during my psychic reading. I think everybody here who follows me knows that. But on her journey, I saw her walking down a hallway, very narrow hallway. The lights were not on, but it wasn't pitch black. It was kind of bleak looking. But she was just walking along, moseying along. There was nothing wrong with this. And I'm like, yeah, I can see where you're feeling very alone. And she's like, well, I feel like I'm stuck. I'm like, no, you're not stuck. You're actually walking. And the sense, there was kind of a disconnect. The sense of her walking was that she was just taking her time, feeling things out, just really learning herself. And I'm like, you aren't off your path. She was saying, I feel like I'm off my path. I'm like, no, the walls are very narrow. They have you like on a straight line, and they're just letting you take your time. And so she was saying, oh, yeah, I feel disconnected from my spirit guides. And I was telling her, so then I didn't see the spirit guides at first. And I said, well, wait a minute. Let me see if I can see them. So went back into the vision, and I'm like, oh, there's two really tall women behind you, one by each shoulder, and they both have a hand on your shoulder, and you're leading the way, and they just have their hand on there just as in support of you. They aren't pushing you. They aren't in front of you. They aren't anything. They're just letting you take your time, and they just have their hand there. And so she said, well, how do I connect with them more? And so I'm talking, the one on the right didn't say anything, was very quiet. The one on the left was talkative. But she was kind of pissy. Not with her, with me. And it's kind of funny because, sometimes they're nice, sometimes they talk, what have you. But she was kind of pissy. It felt like she didn't want my involvement. And I think, my readings are supposed to last like 50 minutes to an hour. With her, it was an hour and 45 minutes. And I understand why she was kind of pissy and didn't want my involvement, because this was a time of the client's self-exploration. That's why I told her. They just wanted her to take her time to untangle. They said she was too tangled up. They wanted her to take her time and figure things out herself. They kind of didn't want me to like meddle. And so I just said, well, how can you, I said, she wants to know if you can have more of a connection to her, if you can talk to her more. And so the one on the left showed me like her leaning over and whispering her in her ear, the client's ear. And I said, well, she's showing me that she's leaning over and whispering ear. Like, do you feel things in your left ear sometimes? Maybe a ringing or odd sensation. And she said, well, I do feel throbbing. I said, okay, that's her. And then I was talking to the spirit guide, the left one. I said, well, can you do anything more? Can you be louder? Like, can you do anything else? And so then she showed me that her hand was on the client's shoulder. She says, I pinch her. And I'm going, well, that's not nice. Like, can you do anything else besides pinch her? So then she showed me her hand on her shoulder, kind of like digging her thumb in the back of her like scapula, like this area right behind her shoulder. And I'm like, well, that also seems very painful. And so I asked the client, I said, do you have any sensations in that area? Because she showed me a picture. That's what she does to let you know that she's there. And the client said, well, I do often experience back pain. I said, well, that's her. And then I'm talking to the spirit guide again. I'm saying, is there anything else you can do besides things that are kind of painful? And she's like telling me like to kind of stop meddling, and she kind of got snippy, and she's like, well, I do talk, she just doesn't listen. I'm like, okay. But I was just trying to figure out things to like do to help the client, and the guides for like the first I want to say hour 15 minutes were like very adamant about her journey, what they needed her to do, what they needed her experience, telling me that she is perfectly fine, but the client felt a disconnect. She's like, I don't feel fine though. She's like, my intuition doesn't seem right, it seems off. And I energetically looked at her intuition. I'm like, no, you were actually great. Like her chakras are all off. I saw like her chakras are just like really not aligned. And when I saw that her chakras were like really not aligned, and I was giving her advice to do that, that's when the left spirit guide, one is on the shoulder, came in and just started like boom, boom, like giving me all these things to tell her to do. And I was laughing at my client. I'm saying, it only took her an hour and 30 minutes to like be talkative with me and give me some advice to help you out. I just thought it was funny. I just was like so hilarious with this left one. And I'm like, she's very protective over you. And that's what the spirit guides are. So it may seem like we all have them. It may seem that you are sometimes not connected to your spirit guide or guides, but just to let you know, like, this is the work I do. They are always there with you. They are always there with you. And sometimes it takes someone like me. You don't have to come see me, but someone like me to come and like broker things for you. And not this client, but a client I had last year. Her and her spirit guide had a contract that her spirit guide would be hands off this life. And in talking to the client, she's like, no, I don't know what made me sign up for that contract, but absolutely not. And I had to broker a contract, another contract amendment between her and her spirit guide. And that was beautiful to watch, because I actually kind of nudged her spirit guide to touch her. It was like hands off, like she could not she can be around her, but not energetically touch her. And I was able to, I don't know how I do it, I just do it, energetically nudge her spirit guide to touch her, and then they hugged. And I said to the client, I said, okay, you guys are hugging now. And my client started crying, and she's like, I actually feel like I'm being hugged right now. And I said, okay, that's good. The contract is now amended. So that's what I do. And it's beautiful work. So I just thought I would just share that with you guys about your spirit guides. Like, again, you don't need to come see me, but you can come see someone like me just to get in touch with your spirit guides. But usually if you meditate, you will start to maybe bridge your way to your spirit guides. So you guys have a good day, honestly.